Hello and welcome to The Second Look. My name's Sam.
And I'm Tigz.
If you're brand new here, this is Back of the Net. We're an AFC Bournemouth fan channel and we're fans of our side, but we're not fans of losing. And Tigz, not picking up a win in 2024 in the league. We're not overly worried, but it's just a bit frustrating and just a bit of a come down after what was an incredible December, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was almost too good. That's the problem. Kind of, getting better and better and better it felt. And then I think maybe, I don't know, the little winter break probably didn't do us any good.
Yeah.
And some tricky fixtures, let's be honest. And everyone's looking to pick up points. Everything's very competitive. And I think maybe, we'll talk a little bit about it in a minute, people are starting to work out our style a little bit, perhaps, maybe. What do you think?
Really hope not. If you're brand new around here, you can do a couple of things to help this video grow. And Tigz, what are they?
Well, you have to like. Yeah. For one, the subscribe thing is always a great idea because you get more of this, which is fabulous stuff. And then there's a little bell thing. I don't know if you know about this.
Tell me more.
Well, if you click on that, then it will alert you every time we've got a new video out to watch. Plus, can I just put in a little mention here for we've got a podcast as well. So if you would prefer not to look at this, but just listen to it, and you wouldn't be the only one, then please go and find that on your whatever podcast platform you use.
So, Fulham 3, Bournemouth 1 was the result at Craven Cottage. In this show, we're going to talk about the good and bad of AFC Bournemouth, but I think it's also probably right to praise Fulham as well, because they probably do come out with a lot of credit from that. They've had a bit of a topsy-turvy run of league form, but it's fair to say that they worked us out. And a lot of credit will be paid to them. But first, we're pleased to announce this episode of the Back of the Net podcast is sponsored by Green King Sport, where football is more than a game.
Green King Sport venues are showing every single televised Bournemouth fixture over the 23-24 season. And with more than 900 sports pubs across the UK. 900, wow.
That's a lot.
That is an awful lot. It's almost 1,000. It doesn't matter where you're based. You can catch every single minute of the action.
And if you download the Green King Sport app, you won't just get 10% off all drinks at any time there's a match on the TV. But this month, and I've been on it, there is also free Guinness to be won with this game that I think is impossible, but you've got to outrun the rugby player and you've got to press it. It's so interesting. You just have to get a high score and then you might get a free pint of Guinness. Also, when you do Score King as well, chance to get a free beer on there. So download the Green King Sport app. There's also a chance to win one of 6 holidays.
Can I do that now?
Go on, do it.
Okay.
So it's 2 points from a possible 15 from AFC Bournemouth. One of the features in our recent good run was rarely giving the ball away, but it seemed to be that we gave it away a lot at the weekend. Thankfully, our league position has not suffered, Tigz. We are still in 13th. Well, Fulham have leapfrogged above us. We knew that would happen, but we've got a 2-point gap over Brentford, who is sat in 14th there. And yeah, we're very much looking like the epitome of a mid-table side at the moment. But I don't know, I just don't feel good without having any W's at all in our last 5.
It's so weird, isn't it? You know, it wasn't that long ago we were at the top of the form table. No matter how many games you picked, we were still there. And it was just and then after that Liverpool game, it's just kind of fallen apart a little bit. Looking at the league table was really, really interesting as well, in that I've had a few conversations with people about how many points we think we need in order to secure safety this season. Yeah. Some people have said to me 36, but or maybe, I don't know, maybe even lower. So it doesn't feel like we're far away from that.
It's weird, isn't it? Because Everton are, half, so they've 24 games in, and they're on that kind of, if you're saying that, 38 points has always been something that's been mentioned.
Yeah.
They're halfway to that, but after 24 games. So I think it is, like we said on the vlog, one of the lowest points totals in quite a while. It seems to be coming down every year. Are teams getting worse or something? I don't know.
I think it's really hard when you come up from the Championship, especially, in order to kind of put together a squad that's going to be able to compete and go the length of the season as well, which is, it's tricky. And injuries, I mean, we could talk about that for ages. You could have a whole podcast just about injuries, because we're not the only Premier League team that has those problems. However, into this game, we didn't really have a lot of injuries, whereas Fulham, actually, interestingly,
Yeah, that's weird because in December we did have quite a few, but it's almost like all the other players stepped up to the plate. But now there's almost this, everyone's feeling reassured that we've got lots of players to select from, but we're worse as a result of it.
There'll be a full sense of confidence maybe going into some games. I don't know.
And there is the form table that Tigz was alluding to. If you're listening via the audio pod, we're in 17th. We're just above the relegation zone in the form table. At least that last win there being against Fulham on Boxing Day, but since then 3 losses and 2 draws. I think it was always going to be a tough at Craven Cottage. I think 19 of their 26 points that they'd garnered before their win on Saturday were won at Craven Cottage, and they've taken 14 from the last 18 on offer at home. So it was always going to be tricky, but for some reason we were chatting on the pub.
Yeah.
We were like, we're feeling good about this. We think we can get a result. But it's funny how football works, really, because now I'm feeling a bit limp and thinking, oh no, well, where are the points going to come from now?
Yeah, I think there was like sort of 3 different reasons that people were kind of buzzing around about the game. It was the yellow and blue kits, for one.
Unbeaten.
Until now. It was also the fact that our record against Fulham is remarkably good, especially at Craven Cottage.
1992 was the last loss, I think we worked out.
Till this last weekend.
Yeah.
And I think also, you know, we just felt that we have a competitive side. We were getting players back from AFCON.
Yeah.
We thought we'd have all the firepower we needed. But it didn't quite work out that way.
Yeah, it is very strange. So let's skip forward to 2:00 on the day itself. We went to the Jolly Gardeners for a few drinks. You'll see more in the away day review, by the way. So make sure you subscribe for that. That will be coming out later on this channel. But I suppose the lineup wasn't overly surprising in many ways. I think a lot of people maybe expected Cliver to come in that number 10 role. It was Alex Scott that took it, but otherwise it was pretty much as we thought. Fulham were stronger than maybe we'd expected because they had like Harry Wilson coming back, albeit onto the bench. I think Tosin was back as well.
Yeah.
He was on the bench as well. But I mean, it was always going to be a fairly even contest. But with the side we put out, I was feeling all right about that. I thought, come on, we can at least get a draw from this.
A lot of people were really excited about it and looking at the squad, and a lot of people were really interested in the addition, Alex Scott coming in that 10 role, which was, you know, you look back and you go, well, maybe that was a mistake. But at the time, people were really excited about it because it felt like he could do a little bit of everything in there.
Yeah.
He would be competitive. He would be somebody who's going to press as well as create something. But, you know, I think an interesting Kelly as well at left back again, and not using Kirkes yet.
Yeah, I think Scott's good at what he does, but in that role, I'm still not convinced because I think Cliver presses a lot more, forces a lot of errors from the defenders, whereas Scott, I don't think is naturally that player. I mean, what he did at Bristol City, he sort of he played a number of roles there really within the midfield, but he got up and scored goals as well, which is maybe something that Iraola was perhaps thinking about. But I would say the sort of midfield 3 were probably the least on it as they've ever been, really. I thought that's where our battle was really lost. And you know what? It doesn't help when you start a game and you cause your own problems. And I think I may have said on the vlog or since then on social media, there were echoes of Everton with that Zabani slip that put them in. And from then, it almost caused a confidence crisis within the team because it was really unfortunate. I mean, yes, the blame is laid at Lewis Cook, but no one's laying into him because he's been superb for us so far. But it was so unfortunate the way it happened. The ball was played across. I didn't think Cook was the favourite to actually take the ball on, but he's obviously confident enough to take a touch within the box and try to clear it the right way. But then a really unfortunate slip. And in comes DeCold over Reed with a relatively easy finish. But you don't want to be starting 1-0 down after 3 minutes. I mean, Fulham know what that's like because we score a lot of early goals against them. But yeah, she was on the other foot this time.
Absolutely. I think it was when Lewis Cook got the ball and you thought, okay, he's got it. And you saw all the other players turn to start making a run up the pitch, essentially.
Because they could trust him.
Because they could trust him. And then he's just got his arse. He's flat out. And then, you know, you could sense the frustration straight away. But credit to the boys, they rallied around and it looked like, you know, oh no, we're all right, we're okay. We'll get going again.
But I mean, that feeling that Lewis Cook must have had about being on his arse on a professional football pitch. I mean, can you relate to this?
I can very much relate. Yeah.
Have we got the clip? I don't know if we have. It's on social media somewhere.
It's on somewhere. Yeah.
We posted it so many times. I'm not going to ridicule you again, but
that's fine. You can find it if you want to.
But they are. You know what? But I noticed a lot of players were slipping around early doors. There were a lot of. They watered that pitch heavily.
Yeah, I remember you saying that during the game. You were sort of. Somebody else slipped a minute later, and then a Fulham player slipped, didn't they? As we were kind of watching the game, and but then we like to do that. We like to make it slick, and there was some really intricate kind of passing with Fulham, and like we'll talk more about it. I mean, but Willian himself, he was unplayable, class. Really. I mean, it's kind of like when Christie has a really good game, Christie's like that, but Willian was I don't know. For me, I just thought, and I think he always plays really well against us. Even when he was at Chelsea, he played always so well against us.
Like interesting in the build up to that first goal, because it was the ball was with Senesi at the back. He played this long, low pass trying to meet the feet of Dom Solanke. It cut through everyone, but then Solanke lost it or wasn't first to it, and then that set Fulham on the counter attack, and that's ultimately what led to the first goal. And you know what, Willian, he was causing us problems on the left flank, but sometimes he drifted over to the right as well. So I don't know what the average positions are like. We'll check it out a bit later on in the show. So whilst he was so effective on the left, because he drifts, it's probably more central. But he had this this quick sort of 1-2 where Christie was like marking him, but Willian knew what he wanted to do. Christie was flat-footed and he went through at an angle. And Neto, I think it was a really good save. I probably over-egged how good the save was on the. I think most keepers will be saving that, but he just palmed it out with his left.
Yeah,
I think any other team with a bit of attacking know-how would have probably chased that in, and scored from that because it went straight across goal. And I think Senesi just got a foot on it to put it out of play. But that was a sign of things to come, wasn't it? Because Fulham, I just thought were rampant, and they were hungry all over the pitch,
so full of confidence. Like you say that about following it in, but I felt that from probably their point of view is that they had so much in the ball, they had all the opportunities early in that first half. It didn't feel like we were able to get anything going.
Yeah, I think there was also was it Robinson on the left?
He was great.
You know what,
the
way that he overlapped Willian, it's kind of the stuff that we should have been doing, but Kelly just wasn't getting forward like that. It's almost like Iraola remembered the good bits from the Swansea game where I thought Kelly was absolutely superb and his average position was so high up the pitch, he was getting forward, but there was none of that at all. And weirdly, our wings, like, didn't you feel as though we were weirdly underutilising the wings? I mean, all our attacks seemed to come through the central spine.
There was this kind of cutting in thing. Like, Adam Smith does it in the first half, really kind of carves out an opportunity almost on his own, really. But whereas other games, I've probably been a criticism of mine, actually. Just kind of weird saying this now, but there were games like Sinistera just bombing down all the way to the byline, trying to get a cross in when he obviously could have come in earlier. But in this game, we didn't do that. We seem to have come inside all the time.
Yeah.
And yet that's probably where we lost the battle the most because it was so congested.
Yeah. I think Sinistera had a chance that he created when he did cut it onto his right foot. And that he had a couple actually. One he put into the side netting, which he should have done better with really. And then another one which tested the keeper, went out for a corner. And then that Dom Solanke chance at the time, I didn't realise it was as good as what it was.
Is this the corner one?
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. I couldn't see it from where we were, and you couldn't work out what part of the body it made contact with.
Yeah.
It feels like one of those, watching it back, if it hit any other part of him, it could have well gone in. Like, even if he'd fallen forward and just hit it with his ear or something, it would have probably gone in. But
it was obviously a set piece because I think it was Tav that swung in the corner, but it was done at such pace and it bounced for Solanke at a height where it's like, okay, what do you do? Exactly. What do you do?
Yeah.
And he had to kind of angle his body and he got a side foot on it, but it just went high.
I mean, the goalkeeper's face in that picture is great because he's like, oh, where did you come from?
The ball's
as he kind of pulls in front of him.
Really, if I'm thinking about it, it would have been better for him to just nip forward and try to just get a little bit of a nod on it or something. But it wasn't long before Fulham went 2-0 up. And there are so many different things you can unpick about this. I mean, okay, there was a spell, and I'm going to show a little video of this, where at this stage, right, the ball, this is about a minute before the Fulham goal.
Okay.
The ball is played back from Kelly to Neto. And you, at this point, you think, well, he's got time.
He's got loads of opportunities there.
He didn't have that much time because he was being closed down. But even still, he could have used his left foot just to get it up the pitch. And he does, like, inexplicably, he wants to play it with his right foot, and the ball was out of play, so Fulham regain it. Moments later, Kelly then puts it out of play. So Fulham managed to get the ball back, and they work it out to the left-hand side. And again, our nemesis, Willian, absolutely superb. And he put a ball over, and vibes of the Tavernier Billing combination at Old Trafford.
Old Trafford,
to the far stick. And a lot of Bournemouth fans, again, are wondering, okay, where is the fault here? So this is the moment when the ball, and this is just a still, of course, but Willian puts the ball across. I think we probably stood off Willian a little bit too much, showed him a bit too much respect.
Look where he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's hit that ball from pretty deep, hasn't he?
He has, and he had Adam Smith on toast, by the way, throughout most of that game. I think our right side came in for a lot of criticism, but equally, left side, Kelly wasn't overly great, and he was substitute at half-time. But you look at this here, and you think, okay, there's no way that Muniz is going to win this before anyone else, because, Zabani's there, Neto's there as well, and somehow, well, I mean, explain what happened there, Tigz, because I can't really work it out.
It's a mistimed jump, or either he didn't see him behind him. I'd like to think he knew he was there. Was that Kelly?
Yeah.
And then it was quite easy, really. And he just knocked it into the path, didn't he? Neto doesn't really move until quite late, does he? I mean, he's not calling out, is he? He's not making any noise.
No, well, this is my problem. When you watch the replays back, like Neto's captain, he's got the whole pitch in front of him. He can see what's going on. He can see Zabani easier than what, like Zabani's got to think of the players that is to his right. He's got to see where Neto is. I think Zabani, his job in his mind was to shield it, so that just shield the ball, protect the ball, so that Neto would just be able to claim easily. But Neto doesn't even open his mouth to even communicate with Ilya about what to do, and as a result, it's just a simple toe poke, and in the back of the net it goes. And
the thing I find really interesting about this, because I think we're going to touch on this again, is you got the Willian ball in from deep to the back post, and that's how they end up scoring. Yeah,
absolutely. I think. It just, I don't know, it just felt a little passive at times. And I find with Neto, this is one thing I find, like individually, right? And this is not Neto slander and stuff. There's lots of players that we can criticise here. And I know that Tom's been vocal about Neto on the vlog and other players as well, which we will also touch on, including some remarkably bizarre social media reaction, by the way. I think individually, Neto does some great things. His shot stopping is really good, but anytime he requires any cooperation with his teammates, communicating, getting out and punching the ball, he falls short in my eyes. And I don't want to say it, but like, is it time to give Travers a chance, or is this a conversation that should be had maybe at the end of the season? I don't know.
I don't know either. Well, I mean, I don't know what the expectation upon him is. I mean, we can sit from the stands and we can look at it and we go, well, if I was playing in that back four, I'd like my goalkeeper to shout for it. But maybe that's not the way that they communicate. Maybe they don't ask the goalkeeper to do that. I don't know.
He looks almost terrified to come off his goal line at times. We've seen multiple times where players have scored headers. I remember one at Brighton. There's been Everton before where he's practically on the line. I don't know what it is, but it's almost a confidence crisis with him. I don't know. Or maybe that's an instruction put to him.
You can flip it both ways, I think. And you could say, from his point of view, maybe he's looking at his defenders and he's thinking, we've got no problem here. Kelly's going to win that header. I don't need to come out. But there are points in this game where we see that from players. And we said it earlier about the first goal with Cook.
Yeah.
Our players go, oh no, he's all right, he'll be fine, I'll move on. Maybe there's a little bit of caution that we need to apply a little bit more, a little bit of kind of what's going to happen to the second ball here kind of thinking, rather than just assuming that this is dealt with. I know it's difficult, isn't it? Because you want to play front foot, you want to play confident football, but at the same time, I don't know. Either Neto puts himself into trouble here or his defenders have put into trouble is what I'm trying to say, and that's open to interpretation.
But I think it should just be him that's making the decision. But and look, he's got competition. How many goalkeepers have we got now?
5, I think.
It seems like a lot.
Yeah, we've got a lot.
Yeah, it seems like a lot. And, you know, Travers, hopefully didn't just come back to warm the bench. And we've seen how good Travers could be. Yes, in cup competitions where arguably you're playing weaker opposition.
But his loan move was really good. I mean, from what we've heard, he was just...
Oh, they loved him at Stoke. They absolutely loved him.
He was doing really, really well there. So it must be frustrating for him, I must admit. And as for Radu, don't want to go too much into goalkeepers, but, you know, that guy, come on, he must be thinking to himself, why am I here?
Yeah, exactly. What's going on with that? I think we had one more chance in that half that was of note. Tavernier probably should have done better. Sinistera pulled it back.
Didn't even make the highlights, that Tavernier one.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Fulham had like 11 minutes of highlights on their website. It wasn't on there. And I thought that was one of the more clearer chances that we had. By the way, skipping forward, the Fulham commentators later on in the game, they are not neutral. Not that they have to be,
No,
of
they
course,
have to
but,
be. We're not neutral either, are we?
you know, I think albeit maybe that is specifically for Fulham, FFC TV or whatever, whereas obviously we take our commentary from BBC Radio Solent, where maybe they have to be a little bit more involved.
I don't know if they do. I mean, sometimes,
like
Willow's not. Yes. And to be fair, you know, Chris Temple's iconic commentary doesn't sound very...
Yeah, true.
But anyway, there we go.
So at half time, we were thinking, okay, changes need to be made. I think a lot of people were looking at the right hand side though, because Tavernier I thought was relatively ineffective. All of our attacks seemed to be coming down the left hand flank, but it was Kelly that got substituted.
Yeah, it was unusual, really. Well, not unusual. Nobody had a great game.
No.
So we had to change something. There was an argument to say, okay, maybe Kelly could be tucked in and you take one of the central defenders off and then you got both of them still, because he is one of our better players and he can bring the ball forward out of defence and do something with it. Tav, really an odd game for him. I'm not really convinced with him on that right wing.
Do you think they leave him on for like set piece delivery and corners? I mean, we had enough corners in the second half.
I think he is good at that. But then I also think we've got Alex Scott on the pitch as well. And you've got Lewis Cook in there, invariably ends up taking a lot of them anyway.
Well, I thought out of Tav and Scott, at least one of them will get subbed at half time. Scott, I didn't think was it. And the obvious replacement would be Cliver because he was pressing.
And he's been getting in the goals and
exactly. And he knows how to hit the back of the net as well. But I thought, that midfield three was just not. Christie was giving the ball away a lot.
Yeah, he was, and he wasn't able to win it back as much either.
Yeah,
as he normally does. And his communication with Cook was not as good as it normally is. But I think that's where Fulham, certainly in the first half, sort of had us pegged in that, if we can break out those channels, stop that passing, which they just really, really, really well.
Part of me wonders whether Scott should be, but just a bit more. I don't know. Like, should he be deeper? Because I think he's better, running with the ball.
Maybe him or Lewis kind of scenario.
Yeah,
maybe. So I think they're in a similar mould.
Yeah, but him just pushing, because one of them usually does hold
forward, hold back,
and then and I just think he's probably better like that. But I don't know. But
when we had all those injuries, he did come in and do that for us when we first got him back. He played in that kind of pivot, that 2 pivot.
Yeah.
So he can do it.
Yeah, he can do it. So that right hand side was a problem, but no changes there. And that right hand side was a problem. When you look at the Fulham danger creation, you can see that left hand side, very, very hot on the wings, and just inside that as well, you can see that they created most of their chances.
That's that Willian position. That's the position he used to take up for most of the game, isn't it?
But weirdly, like, none of the goals came from that side. They were all balls. I mean, pretty much every goal came from when the ball's moving slowly from left to right.
Yeah.
Sometimes with crosses in the first and third goal as well. You ball across and we just got caught cold. And it seemed to be that kind of pattern of play. Kirkes came on. Kirkes did play a bit higher up. He did offer us something more, didn't he? And he's always got that energy about him, that bit of bite that maybe Kelly sometimes doesn't.
It was an attacking substitution, certainly.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the second goal, you would say that the defender got out-jumped there to make the creation of that goal. So it's a brave move to bring on a shorter player who doesn't have as good a leap and not as good at heading the ball. And you're thinking, well, I need to do something to be able to get the ball down that flank, which is not currently happening. As you say, for all of his good points, Kelly wasn't moving up the pitch.
Yeah. It was, shall I say this? Okay, yeah, I will. What time did you come back up? You were down there for a while, weren't you? You was tucking into your bolty pie or whatever it was.
Chicken bolty pie, yeah.
Was it nice?
Yeah, it was all right. It was nice.
I expect Tom to be down there for ages, but not. I was like, Ansett, where's Tigz?
Yeah.
Where's Tigz?
It was funny, really, because obviously we scored, which we'll talk about in a second, and then but I still hadn't got up by the time that they scored. But those two goals were so close together.
Was it like 51 seconds or something?
I was still celebrating the first goal. I was still celebrating our goal when their goal went in.
And you know what? We started the second half much better, facing our own fans, of course, and theirs, but it just felt a little bit more intense. It felt like the ball was mostly in their half and we were pressing a lot better. But it was so congested. It was so congested, and we had little sort of room to break through. I think we'll have a look at the shots later on, but in terms of the shot stats, that's absolutely balmy, like on target versus off target. But it was a corner, one of about 20,000.
Yeah, loads.
That was swung in. Senesi, Marcus. Oh, so yeah, ball was put in. Was it Solanke with a knockback?
Yeah, and there's an opportunity later on in the half that's very, very similar, where it gets knocked back.
That's right.
Which the Fulham players I don't think were expecting. And then, Senesi, I mean, I'd like to know how many assists and goals he's got combined, because I think he's in our top 3.
I like him getting up there like that. I love having a central defender that we know, because he scored at the last game at Palace and scored at Manchester United. We always know that he can be a threat, but some of the footwork, did it ring any bells for you?
It did. Reminded me of one
Go on.
ex-Bournemouth defender who was at a game recently, Steve Cook.
I know. That was arguably better, I think. Just the way Steve Cook did pluck it out the air and it fell to him nicely, but he had to do more of a turn, I think, like Senesi, and the way he slid it in. Yeah. I thought it was such a good goal. And from then I'm thinking, genuinely, I'm thinking,
get him.
We're going to win this.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to win it. And then it transpires that we don't win it. There was you may not have seen, and it wasn't a point of conjecture on any media outlets at all, but there was a tackle with Alex Scott lost the ball and it looked like the ball went out of play.
Yeah, everyone said that to me when I came back after the goal went in. I came back to the stand and everyone was like, was it out?
I was convinced.
But I was watching it on the monitors downstairs and there was no even sign of it, to be honest. It just shows you the angles.
I was absolutely convinced. I think I've got a relatively good angle on the vlog, but obviously the camera's not great and I'm zooming in, it's turning into pixels, but I think there's like a shade of white ball hanging over the line there. So, and it transpired that the ball was then, played over to the left-hand side where they manufactured a chance for the ball to be crossed on to Muniz to put it in. And Senesi, for the good he did about 2 minutes previous, it's a combination of mistakes. It's not just him, but he was pointing.
He was going, this guy.
He was pointing at the goal scorer like, I've got this man. And then he just drifts. And then I think Kirkes maybe came forward.
Yeah.
And then there was a bit of confusion, and then it was just like and I say an easy volley. It was a well-taken side-footed finish from Muniz, and 3-1 at that stage. I'm still thinking we can get something from it.
But you see, there was real you can make real obvious comparisons between the last goal and this goal.
Yeah.
In the way the ball delivered where it's delivered from.
100%.
From deep, defender out jumped.
Frustrating. And it was very, I would say stop-start, but I don't know, we had a number of isolated chances throughout the road, but it didn't feel like this, it didn't ever feel like it was going to culminate in a goal. And I don't know why, and I think that's because Fulham's blocking defensively. By the way, Tim Ream, I thought was brilliant.
He was everywhere.
He was so good. I thought he was absolutely excellent.
He was Ream, as they say.
He was Ream.
Do they use that word anymore? Is that an old word now?
Is that how he wears Essex?
Yeah, it was.
Love that. Yeah. Or is it Peng?
Peng. Now.
Have you even heard that?
Well, I was pretending.
Of course you have. You're down with the kids, right? But I thought he orchestrated that Fulham defence really well. I thought they've got a spine in their side. That's an underrated spine. I thought Kearney was brilliant as well.
Yeah, he was.
And then they've got the talent out wide as well with like Willian, who I will probably call Will.I.Am at some point in this podcast if I haven't already. But yeah, changes were being made, and there were a lot of changes. We're looking at the match timeline here. So after the goal, the next point of note was Dom Solanke getting hauled over, getting bashed about, yet then getting carded for it. Wasn't sure what that was all about. And then our old friend Harry Wilson came on, Harrison Reed as well. Antoine Semenyo replaced Alex Scott as well. Elsewhere throughout the game, Dango. We saw the introduction of Unal, who had about 25 minutes in total. And then later on in the game, Roman, here we go, ready? Fevre. How the hell are we going to do a chant with that surname?
I don't know. We have to call it something else, I think. Give him a nickname.
Because you know when they have an R and an E at the end of the word, it's always like... how are we going to do that?
I don't think it's going to catch on, Sam. I think it's going to catch on. I mean, I can understand. I mean, we made a lot of subs, and you can understand it because it just wasn't working. And no matter what way you look at the game and how much faith you have in us to be able to get back into it, the system that we were working just didn't give us anything. And you can kind of think to yourself, well, okay, fresh legs on, but it was just fresh legs on, but with everything the same, really. And there wasn't a lot of difference. And the only thing that was different was that Unal was further up the pitch. So you ended up with a 2 up front. And you could say, it was almost like a 4-4-2, wasn't it, by the end of the game? But still, it didn't really change much. And he was working hard.
We had 57 touches in the opposition's penalty area during that game. That surpassed the 41 that we had at Spurs, where we dominated with shots. So Solanke had 9, Sinistera had 7, Christie and Semenyo 6 each. But for all the touches we had in the box, there was not that clinical one, and we had shots. This is the shots chalkboard if you're watching on YouTube. I think there are various sites that say different things, but I mean, 25, I thought it was, 5 of which were on target. Fulham had 7 shots, 6 of which were on target. What a conversion rate that is.
Yeah, it was. And, you look at where their goals came from. They came from a ball in from deep. And you look at how many touches we had in the box. Well, were we trying to sort of walk the ball in, maybe? I mean, but then the shots. Yeah. I can't believe how many shots we had off target.
Yeah, well, there was
quite an odd statistic.
I mean, Christie, obviously, there was one that got floated over to the far post where he tried to get his left foot round it and somehow bundled it away for a corner for us. The one where it went way over the bar, Semenyo had a chance that went over the bar. I would love Christie to work on his finishing. I mean, just imagine. Was he like this at Celtic, do you know?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I mean, because when he signed, a few of their fans came on saying, absolutely superb, brilliant player, but just don't put him in front of goal.
Don't put him in front of goal. Which is one of the funniest things ever, is when he plays for Scotland, he quite often takes penalties and he's amazing at them.
So maybe...
he's never missed a pen, I don't think.
Should he put a Scotland shirt?
Got a shirt underneath a Bournemouth shirt, that'd be great.
Ryan, do it.
Do it, mate.
I think the heat maps indicate where the action areas were somewhat, and look at that Fulham penalty area. That was a key area where the ball seemed to be quite a lot, and really they didn't overly get into our penalty area, as you can see, and it felt like that the whole of the second half. Actually, I thought that we penned them in, but it's just the quality, wasn't it? And it was so, like I said earlier, so congested. They had bodies everywhere.
Did their goalkeeper make a lot of saves? I don't remember.
Not overly. Actually.
No, I don't think they did.
No, not overly. I don't know. I'm getting a bit frustrated, but look, I was walking away after the game and I just thought, doesn't matter. Because football never ends. It doesn't. And you know what? Even if we won, it doesn't really matter, because we'll lose games, we'll win games, but all I just want is some kind of consistency, which supporting Bournemouth, let's face it, we will never have.
I think that's kind of the downside of this. I wish
it was just good all the time.
We've got this. What did we call it? What was it called before he arrived?
What?
Iriola. Organised chaos?
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, if you take that as a kind of a marker of what you were expecting to see, that's about right. I mean, I would expect inconsistency with organised chaos.
Weren't they a band? Oh, no, it's Ultimate Chaos, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Do you remember them?
No, I don't remember them.
Put in the comments if you remember that. But, I don't know. The weird thing is now that we've just got, we haven't really got injuries to hide behind now.
No.
One thing I do really want to see is Tyler Adams back, because I think that will give, I think, I don't want to say complacent, but Christie's just not been quite on it. And look, do not get me wrong. And we did say this a number of shows ago, that Christie's weirdly earned the right to have a bad game or two.
Absolutely.
His retention of the ball in this game, I don't think was particularly great. Lewis Cook as well. The individual error side, I thought he had a standard game, but he didn't really grab hold of the game as much as I felt he could do from that position, where sometimes he can really, dictate what happens. Loads of unforced errors, wingers misfiring, and we seem to have lost that kind of mojo a little bit. But I suppose it's better to be losing games like that and getting lots of shots on target, and then that's one thing we maybe weren't doing so much at the start of the season.
Yeah, we're definitely more attacking. You can just tell that from the amount of shots that we take. It's keeping that quality. And I think there's a few players that were kind of targeted as not playing very well. I don't think anyone played very well, for one. Yeah. I can't really think of anyone that really stuck out for me as performing well at all. Smith got quite a lot of stick.
Yeah.
But then I think to myself, well, he's got Tav in front of him. Well, he needs more help in that situation. You know, like there's no point saying he's not good enough. He is good enough. We've seen in other games he's good enough. He just wasn't in that game. And that's where you need to make a change, probably.
I think Max Aarons would have brought a lot more balance to that side, because he's got energy to get up. I mean, I don't know. It didn't feel wrong. There were players that were sort of coming off arguing at half time and stuff, and it wasn't overly great at all. I think, we missed Clivert in that number 10. We really did. But I take solace from the fact that we did create so many chances. And it's like, despite the fact we're not ourselves, the muscle memory of just shooting is still there. So, we're still giving them some things to think about. And I think a lot of Fulham fans have, come on and said, you were great in the second half. I thought that Marco Silva said something along those lines as well, saying that, Bournemouth were very good in the second half, but we did enough to win the game. But Andoni said we weren't good enough in the boxes.
No, and we've been here before, and Tom always says this to me. I go, we're good that half. Yeah, we were good that half.
Yeah.
But we were 3-1 down. Yeah. So we were allowed to be good.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I don't think Fulham would have competed in the same way that they did if it was a draw at that point of the game. A lot more of it would happen in the centre of the pitch, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the game was gone really at 2-0.
Yeah.
Really.
The game was gone. Tigz, you know what? I love having you on these shows. It's half term.
Yeah, it is.
So it just means Tom can take a little break. It means you can come in, give your thoughts. Ben, he's not at school anymore, so he's really like filling in and doing some stuff for us. But I do want to touch, by the way, I don't expect you to contribute to any of this, because it's me saying this now, on some of the weird social media reaction there has been. If you're, on Twitter, right? And, I think during the game, you know what Tom's like with his tweeting and stuff. I think he tweeted about David Brooks, who at the weekend, he came on for Saints, assisted 2 goals for him or something in their 5-3 win, against Huddersfield. Whereas, he was making the comparison in his tweet that whereas we're bringing on Dango Ouattara, who I suppose is not exactly famed for coming on and changing games for AFC Bournemouth. I think and he got a little bit of stick from the usual suspects, some of which we know they are, even though they don't think we know they are. But one of them weirdly associated his post with issues that are a lot bigger than football, which I think was very obtuse from them. But look, the way that Tom writes his tweets, I think he can be quite abrasive sometimes with the way he writes it. And I suppose if you're a person that's easily triggered, or you've maybe elevated his status in your own head to something beyond even what Tom regards himself as, I think you're all going to be champing at the bit to retweet him. And they did, with a few quote tweets that I just think are quite bizarre. I think there's some context that's needed to Tom's tweets. But one thing I would say is, on both sides, weighing it up. Brooks did come on for Saints.
Yeah.
But it was against Huddersfield in the Championship. And there were a number of performances where he was relatively ineffective.
Yeah.
And he himself forced that move because he really needed football. So it's, it's what he wanted.
We didn't want him to go.
No, we didn't want him to go. But I think what he's saying is that if there is to be a pecking order at AFC Bournemouth with the players that we had before Brooks went, you would probably put him on ahead of Ouattara in terms of the game-changing ability that he's got. And we saw that at Brentford. He came on 60 minutes, scored a goal.
Yeah.
Ouattara, I think Tom and many other Bournemouth fans are still trying to work out what he's good at. I mean, he did brilliantly for us, by the way, at left back when he came on and filled in for a couple of games. And he didn't do anything wrong, by the way.
No.
In the game at Fulham. I thought he did all right. But if you had the choice, you would probably bring on Brooks. And I think obviously there's a lot of frustration on his part. It would be good to see what Ouattara's good at, wouldn't it?
I think it's really interesting, actually. When I think about him in that game, I think that Brooks probably would have been better at creating different types of chances.
Yeah.
Ouattara, I don't think is a chance creator, but what he's trying to be is a converter, especially when he's played high at the pitch.
Yeah.
Oddly, I would actually say that perhaps he's the type of player that would have been beneficial to have on the pitch earlier in the game so that we didn't go to a 2-0 deficit, because we know how hard he works down the wings.
Yes, agreed.
If you had him up against Willian, running up and down, running down. I'm not saying that he should play right back instead of Adam Smith, but what I'm saying is, he's a physical kind of player.
Yes,
agreed, that's going to limit chances and maybe then up the other end get something on his head.
Yeah.
But in terms of when we're at a game where no matter what we try and do, whatever we do, we kept knocking at the door, we just couldn't get anything in the goal. That's when someone like David Brooks, is what I think Tom was trying to say, would have been better at creating that chance, unlocking the door.
Yeah.
Whereas Dango is a little bit more passive, but so explosive.
Yeah, no, I agree. Oh, but by the way, did you see Rothwell's goal as well for Southampton?
Unbelievable. Why, but that just shows you
ridiculous strike.
When we signed him from Blackburn, that's what he was doing for Blackburn.
I know.
And then we played him as a different kind of player, which you can understand in the systems and whatever.
But I think that there were some very weird observations from some people about Tom, I thought. By the way, the same people on Twitter that liked one of their fellow Cruz tweets earlier in the season, because we saw when, do you remember when the club put out that kind of 1 to 11 team list, but like, dementia things?
Yeah, I remember.
Someone tweeted something along the lines of, Dango's playing at number 10 then, like confused or whatever. And there were a few likes of people on that tweet that were laying into Tom. I don't know. It's a bit of a, I suppose it's easier to knock someone off a pedestal that they themselves have put Tom on, I suppose, rather than knock someone down that's not even climbed up the pedestal yet in their size 3 feet. But yeah, that's Twitter. That's Twitter.
I mean, maybe it's just misunderstanding a tweet. I don't think that tweet was supposed to say that Dango's not a good footballer.
No, exactly.
I think it was saying that it would have been great to have someone like David Brooks on the bench to bring on.
From my perspective, like I did use, I have got a personal Twitter account. I do like maybe retweet, or get a DM and I'll reply. But the thing is, like, a tweet, what you got, 200, is it 280 characters unless you
something like that,
pay Elon, which, I'm never going to do. But I find it's, even 200, God, I can't believe that before it was 140. How on earth did we survive with 140? But even in 208 characters, you cannot say what you want to say in the way you want to say it. And that's why I think I save my opinions for this, where I can have the time to maybe contextualize it a little bit.
You can't encapsulate everything you want to say in a balanced way. It's a short, sharp, isn't it? That's the whole point of it. It's supposed to create debate, I suppose. It's just weird the way that they themselves say the same thing, but when Tom says it. But then he's elevated his own status. So thank you for making Tom the superstar that he is. I think he's a superstar.
Was the ref a superstar? Look, there was a...
I didn't really notice the ref.
I thought some people thought the officiating was a bit dire, and at times he was letting things go that I felt he shouldn't, and then at other times there was some Bournemouth fans were saying like Fulham were time wasting a little bit by going down. There were 7 minutes of additional time in the first half, and
I don't think there's any controversy to this. I don't think there's any other team in the world that wouldn't do the exact same thing, including us.
Just sour grapes on our part, wasn't it?
I think so, mate.
Well, don't say that.
I'm sorry.
But, that was the same ref that gave 0 stoppage time in the FA Cup against Swansea.
I was just saying, oh yeah, that was so weird.
That's like it was on 89:59. Full time whistle goes. So what? What's going on there? But anyway, yeah, not a good day at the office for AFC Bournemouth whatsoever. I think there is a reality check that some people are mentioning on the Vitals forums, and I sort of read it and I was like, oh yeah, maybe you're right, but we'll just check the average. Well, I'll explain shortly. We'll have a look at the average positions just to show you how the game sort of developed. So this is Fulham's average position, very much penned in their own half, and Bournemouth trying to play very much the Bournemouth way. But as you can see, let's flip back to Fulham's and we'll show you their sort of substitutions. They did retreat, whereas when we made the substitutions, you can really see that we were pushing further on up the park, so that made that whole half so congested, and it wasn't a game where we could counter-attack. It wasn't anything. It's so crucial, it seems these days, that Bournemouth take the lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You are spot on. And when we don't, and I think I said that before the game in the car with you, actually, and when we don't, that's when we're really in trouble.
Yeah.
And I think as well, that the lack of width in that game is really interesting to look at.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
When you've got such good wingers, that you're not getting the ball out really wide and stretching the pitch, everything came. I don't know. It just shows you that from the average positions. That's all observation.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've also got some stats as well from 12, which show you the XG by minute. By the way, I didn't realise that there's two different XG providers. There's Opta and there's also Understat as well. And they all serve different like media companies or whatever.
Can we start one of those? It's like there's money in it.
It's funny because like Senesi's, according to Opta, or was it the other way around? Senesi's had his goal had a lot lower XG with Opta than it did with Understat, because they do it using a slightly different metric, because there were like loads of bodies in the way and stuff. I don't know how it's worked out, but we're flicking through the stats here and we can see the left-hand side is where the danger creation was for AFC Bournemouth.
Senesi got a crossing from the left, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he absolutely did. Yeah, we went.
Good cross as well.
And I think the passing network as well can show you here that that link-up play, especially on the left-hand side, certainly was better than it was on the right-hand side. Tavernier not really in the game. I'm sort of wondering with Tav sort of what's happening at the moment, because he's just not on it at the moment. But it's just that spark he can provide every so often, can't he?
Would he be better on the left? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe. And I know sometimes, and this obviously sometimes affects the average position. They do switch and stuff. But these are the overall stats then from afcb.co.uk. Just, don't look at the off-target numbers. It will make you have PTSD. Who was your man of the match, if you could name one for AFC Bournemouth? Was there a star man? I mean, I'll tell you now that according to Who Scored, Muniz, unsurprisingly, with a couple of goals, was their main man. But as far as Bournemouth, can you
it's probably Senesi, but I didn't think anyone.
No,
because he was at fault as well later on.
And you're right that he was the highest scoring player with 7.9. The goal, of course, massive for that. That little E by Cook's name, of course, was the error. Zabani also scored highly as well. Dom Solanke, I thought it was a funny game for Dom. Really, he just wasn't in it, was he? He had that overhead shot that took a touch that looked for a split second like it was looping in, but didn't. But really, he was just getting out muscled, and they were doing defensively what we tend to do to, attackers, where we push up like really touch tight with them, and then when the ball's being played in their foot, just get in their faces, just get a touch on it, just disrupt the whole mode of play.
And certainly in the first half, I remember thinking it was quite not unusual, because we know that he can do it, and he did it for us for many seasons. How deep Dom was having to come to try and get some action on the ball. Whereas in other games where he's been most effective in terms of scoring, he's been able to have a little bit more freedom and been able to stay up there and let other players bring the ball up. We weren't able to do that today.
No. So let's kind of have a reality check then, shall we? Because I mean it's not great. We haven't won in the league in 2024, but we are going to Wembley, right? Well, we're 2 wins away from that. Beat Leicester, and then hopefully a favourable. We're so going to draw Man City. We're going to draw Man City.
Do you know what? I was really sort of looking forward to that Leicester game, and then I looked at the Championship and see how points clear they are. They're going to put a strong team out. I thought maybe they might go a bit weaker like we used to when we were looking for promotion, but they're going to put a strong team out, aren't they?
Like, in a way, it'd be ideal for them to lose a couple of games and for Saints and Leeds to keep winning. I can't believe I'm saying what I'm saying, but look, we outplayed Spurs on New Year's Eve. We were unlucky, I thought, to lose 3-1 with a ridiculous mistake for their first goal. What else in the league? Liverpool. It's Liverpool.
It's Liverpool.
We did well for the first half. We fell apart in the second half. Of course, that's not good, but they're going to be up there. They're going to probably finish first or second, probably second. At West Ham, we outplayed them, I thought.
Yeah.
I just thought we were maybe wasteful in front of goal. We should have probably put the game to bed when we could have. It was a soft-ish pen for West Ham, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. There were more goals in that game than there were. I mean, there should have been more goals in that game than there were.
Yeah, 100%. Against Forest, which was only like 3 days later.
A very niggly game. That was the problem with that one.
And they had an extra couple of days to prepare because they played on the Tuesday.
They just out. I don't think they were better than us from a footballing point of view. They outfought us.
But I think we just looked maybe a little bit leggy in that. And in that game, I just think, look, 25 shots, just a lack of clinical finishing. We're still creating the chances. I think even if we don't get results in the next 2, which is
unlikely, it's likely,
possibly likely, I don't think there's anything to overly worry about because we can see there's an identity. And haven't we said all along that we'd rather see our team lose like this than not pose a threat whatsoever? Like sometimes we did previously under different managers.
Yeah.
We would not be in games. It's so weird the way that football works. But you're still Mr. Positive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we've got 2 really tough league games coming up now. I think you've got to kind of look at that. Actually, do you know what you can look at as well? You can look at the other results in the Premier League at the moment. And there are results that are surprising people. There's some that aren't.
Yeah.
But even like West Ham against Arsenal the other day, that scoreline is quite a result, really, quite an unexpected result. But our position in the league is still where it is because nothing really.
I suppose it doesn't. You know what? It doesn't really matter, does it? If our position doesn't overly change that much, it doesn't matter. Like, I know it's annoying, and you sort of look at teams in and around you like the ones you should be getting points from. But say that's Wolves, who are doing exceptionally under Gary O'Neill, got some astounding results, and when they're running hot at the moment, I would say, but then they go and lose 2-0 home to Brentford.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
And look, we've had some surprising results before against big team, Man United. We're going up to Newcastle on Saturday. Eddie Howe has never beaten us yet. I've got a feeling that might come to an end on Saturday. I don't know, but we could go out and surprise.
They got 2 wins on the bounce.
Yeah,
2 wins on the bounce. Yeah. So they're looking better, aren't they? Certainly. But then, in a weird kind of way, that kind of lifts the. Sounds odd, this, and if you're a fan of another club and you're not a Bournemouth fan, you're not going to understand this at all. But if Newcastle were losing week in, week out, it would feel a bit weird going up there, and beating them because of what that might mean.
Yeah.
But now they've had a little reprieve from the recent results. I actually feel like we can go there and get something. I actually do.
Well, it's weird, like when there's expectation, when there's expectation, we don't really live up to it. But when there isn't.
Yeah,
we do, and look, I think we expected to get something more than we did against West Ham. I think most West Ham fans didn't agree, but we don't talk about West Ham too much after their absolute capitulation. The Premier League show might have something on that tomorrow. And then against Forest, we all expected something. Against Fulham, we expected something. Against Newcastle, are we? No. 3 points.
There you go.
But Man City, though, not too sure. I think that might be slightly.
I'd be interested to see what he does for that game. It's a free hit, and he's settled in a little bit more now, Iriola. And what his approach is to play against Man City, who we've never got any points from, at least not in the last 30 years. What will he do? Will he change things, or will he go sticking to it? It'd be interesting.
There's some conjecture I've seen on some I think the Daily Mail or whatever, and a few Craig Hope, the Newcastle United journalist, about Philip Billing and Lloyd Kelly being linked with Newcastle end of the season. Obviously Lloyd would go on a free. We would probably expect him to go. Phil Bill will get something for him.
Yeah, maybe. He's such an interesting one. We've spoken about him loads of times, and his style and the way that he moves. He looks so relaxed, but,
floats around the pitch.
Let's not forget last season, he was in the numbers. He was our big guy. He was our number one, really, more than Solanke.
Yeah.
In terms of how important he was for us staying up.
Yeah.
In this system, Kluivert gets in ahead of him at the moment.
Yeah, and I think, that's Kluivert's press and Billing. Sometimes he's good at that, but sometimes he just has the odd game where, because of his style, you just notice it a lot more as being pedestrian. Whereas, you wouldn't label him with it if you saw the stats and you see how much earth he's covered. So
he's really good. I tell you what, he was really good at when he was really good, and he would cut out those channels, passing channels.
Yes,
interceptions was his thing. Whereas now he's being asked to press, and he's not looking, because you see him, you watch him around the pit. He's looking to see, how can I nick the ball.
We'll see what transpires. Look, it's a busy week as ever for Back in the Net. We've got a few shows coming out, so make sure you subscribe. If you've been listening via the audio pod, you can leave a little cheeky review if you can. So on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts or whatever it is, there's a little area, isn't there, where it says reviews. Yeah. And then people can type stuff about us. Leave a 5-star review if you can.
Something nice, please.
But no, honestly, we appreciate all the feedback and all the comments that we've got as well. What's going wrong for AFC Bournemouth? Why are you worried? Why are you not worried? Let us know in the comments. We would love to know. And stay tuned because there's going to be more content on the way. Tigz, it has been a pleasure. It's been very different, but I've loved sharing this game with you, dissecting it with you. It's been nice.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't get to do these very often because of life, but I have enjoyed doing this one, and I hope now. Back on the up.
Back on the up. Fingers crossed. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Up the cherries.
Up the cherries.